On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we give you what we're watching for in OU-Auburn. Then Jason Caldwell joins us to teach us more about the Tigers. We preview the best games of Week 5 in college football, and of course, we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, September 25th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted the OKC Metro's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of September, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Gotta have it.
Yes,
D-
have to have it.
it does feel like a must win. And I know that sounds pretty dramatic with it only being the fifth game of the season, but that's how it feels. It feels like whatever term you want to use, inflection point, tipping point. It feels like a massive, massive football game for Oklahoma.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Things have defense has played really well, but we have not clicked yet. And in order to be able to navigate this schedule that's coming up, we need to click, and it needs to happen. And it ain't going to be easy. I know you look at Auburn's record and kind of how they've played up to this point. We know how this goes. This isn't new. We will not see the same Auburn team that Cal saw, or any of their games leading up to this one. They're going to be geared up and ready to roll.
No doubt about it. Before we dive into what we're watching for, just a reminder, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a new In the Weeds video up breaking down a couple of positive plays from OU's loss to Tennessee. And also on Thursday night, we're going to have Aaron Murray, all-time leading passing leader in SEC history. He's going to break down kind of what he's seen from OU's quarterbacks. So that's going to be a fun conversation. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Let's dive into it. What are you watching from OU's defense against Auburn's offense, Ted?
Well, the first thing that's now that everyone has seen our three-man front stuff, what defense are we going to be in? What's Auburn? They have to prepare for both, and most people now do a little bit of both. Most people are multiple with their fronts, but I don't know how many teams can play a full game in either or. It's a totally different defense. I mean, it's not you're not just switching out the front, you're changing a whole lot of stuff on the back end. So it's impressive that Oklahoma could do what they've done. So Auburn is going to be forced to prepare for, all kinds of different things from Oklahoma. So curious to see what we major in. For Auburn's offense, generally speaking, it's really similar to what you see most every team in college football do. There's a lot of RPO stuff. There's some of the similar runs, passing schemes. I guess there's nothing about them that I would consider that's totally different or out of the ordinary from what you're going to see in mostly a week by week basis. However, I like what they do in the run game. And they have a bunch of different options that they get to. In the passing game, they build some nice play action off of their stuff. They do some RPO. They do some some close to the line of scrimmage stuff, but they also build on it, like to push the ball down the field. Before I get into any of like just the general concepts, you agree with that? Just kind of generally speaking about their offense.
It reminds me a lot of what OU's been doing offensively the last couple of years. I think there's some more variety in their run game. You look at how they run some outside zone, they run some pin pull. They've got some creative concepts where the tight ends insert in different areas than what we see kind of in the zone insert stuff that we've run around here the last couple of years. I I'm not a massive fan of the RPO heavy offense, but the execution has not been great, but I think from a conceptual standpoint, this is way up there on the list for me of effective and clean looking RPO offenses. I
Yep.
think it's a solid system. For it being so RPO heavy, I think it's about as good as I've seen for a system that's kind of in that family.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Now getting into the run concepts, they'll run some counter, some gap scheme stuff. Um, their tight ends, you got 86, 87, and 13. 13 is not a great blocker. And he played a lot in the Arkansas game. I don't know if they've had some injuries there. But you're going to get counter. The tight ends are going to be, the second puller often, and it's just okay. The concept is fine, but I don't see enough like up front that really worries me about the run game and the counter stuff. They'll run some jet sweep, and they're pretty effective. I wanted to ask you about this. So let's say jet sweep is coming and we're giving it and it's going to the offense's right. Typically, as an offensive line, wouldn't you like treat that almost as a stretch play and climb to the right?
If they do, I know what you're talking about, where they kind of go the other way.
They go the opposite way, which I like because you got to understand on defensively, a lot of times you don't react to the backfield, you react to the blocking scheme in front of you. Typically, the blocking scheme doesn't lie, right? And the backfield can lie, misdirection, but the blocking scheme usually tells you what the play is, and they like stretch away from where they're running jet to get the interior to go that way. I don't mind it.
They also do it to where they pull the backside guard and tackle and show you GT counter the other way when they're running jet. And I think it's all geared at messing with your eyes, exactly what you're talking about. It's just a way for them to get out on the edge and get those inside backers to hesitate just for a count.
Yeah. And and the one in particular I'm talking about against Arkansas, I like because there's no fake, there's nothing. The tight end, he is out. The running back is out. They're out. They're trying to go get blocks on the front side, and it's just the offensive line. And the backers, they freeze for 2 steps, and then so they're late. I really like that. You mentioned it. They'll run some stretch. They'll do it out of 12 personnel. They'll do it out of 11 personnel. What I thought was interesting is they like to stretch away from the slot tight end. So you'll have guard, tackle, tight end off the ball behind the tackle. And it really makes the backside of that stretch kind of ugly, and how they could climb there. It creates some difficulty on the defense.
I think
like that.
I think Hunter 27.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they block stretch particularly well, but I think 27 runs stretch well.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll take it front side. He'll cut it all the way back behind all the trash. I think he's got a pretty natural feel for that play.
Yep, I agree. You'll get some split zone stuff, Just kind of your traditional that we see week in, week out, tight end off the ball, coming across the formation from a variety of different placements. They'll do it off of motion. They'll do it off of just a static, tight end off the ball, either wing or in the slot position. The difference between a wing and a slot, for anyone that doesn't know, wing is whenever the tight end there's no one else on the ball outside of him. There's a tight end there, and then there's a guy. The wing is off of the tight end, and there's no one else outside. A slot, you got the tackle, you got the X receiver on the outside, and the tight end is off of the tackle. They'll run it out of both of those. I liked some of the straight up zone read that they do. It's kind of traditional. They're zoning it, and the quarterback's just reading the in man on the line of scrimmage. And they'll also, I was going to see what you thought of, they run, it's like they're flipping responsibilities. The quarterback is the guy that's coming like the traditional zone.
I call it reverse zone read.
Yeah. And
where the back is going wide and the quarterback is reading the guy, and he's the inside threat in the run game.
Correct. And to add to it, they will pull a guard from the backside. So the quarterback is, let's say we're faking like the outside zone to the offense's left. He will fake like it's going wide, but he'll also give it wide zone read, like outside zone. Then they'll pull a guard and influence the tight end on the play side. So the tight end will wide block out around the defensive end, and then there's a guard pull, and so the defensive end slams, and it creates a lot of space there, and he'll give it on the outside, and since they influence, they get out on the support players, and the defensive end has to go slam, and you create a lot of space there. I think it's a really smart concept.
Yeah, it's kind of what you were talking about with the jet sweep stuff. They use the defense's training against them in some of these run concepts. Like, hey, you've repped this thousands of times. This is how you're going to react, and we're going to use that against you. Like they've got several things like that, and it's smart.
No,
like Hugh Freeze,
I like it a lot.
I know he's under fire right now, and we'll talk to Jason Caldwell about how that's going over locally, but he's got some good stuff, man. He really does. That's why I said the system is, I mean, there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Passing game, you'll get a lot of the standard stuff. They like what I call spacing, and they'll get to it a bunch of different ways. Everyone's just basically going 5-yard curls, and they're going to spread them all across the field. Quarterback, based on defensive alignment, is going to prefer one side or the other and just read how kind of people react, and they'll throw the little 5-yard spacing stuff. You'll get the RPO where he's reading the safety that's coming down. If that safety is hard on the box, they're throwing like the 8-yard spears. It's not quite a slant. They're pushing up the field a little bit more and kind of spearing in behind. They like curls, and they'll get to them a bunch of different ways. 8-yard curls, 12-yard curls. They do some good play action stuff. For example, they will play action off of the jet sweep stuff, and I don't know how else to call the route other than a wheel, but it's in the slot position where the tight end is typically on jet. Jet sweep's coming across, tight end is front side. He's going to block out on the perimeter support, but it's play action, and he's just taking it up the field on a go route. It's a pretty tough concept. They screw it up, and Thorne throws an interception on one of them to Arkansas, but I could see how it's a difficult concept if it's blocked up properly and you get the right routes. Personnel wise, the running back we talked about 27. Is the other one is it 9? Is he number 9? The smaller guy. He's got his jersey rolled up. I guess I should have just looked it up.
Zero.
0. Okay.
It's a zero. Yeah.
He's the smaller guy. He's a little quicker, shiftier, like you would expect. Um,
Damari Olson, 5'9", 209.
he doesn't look 209, but you know, he's in there on some third down stuff. A better protector than I expected him to be, but still, he's small. We should run through him at backer if he's up in protection against us. Offensive line, just okay. I think they mess with their splits quite a bit, and I feel like they're susceptible to some of the twist stuff that we are really good at in both the run game and the pass game. I think that could have some production for us. Um, I it's kind of weird. I like the offense. I I think the personnel they have is just okay. The execution doesn't look horrible. They just don't get any production somehow. You know what? It's kind of weird. I don't know how to
And
explain it
you
exactly.
and you watch, especially Peyton Thorne, number one, he has some throws where you go, dang, like this
Mhm.
dude can rip it. And then he has both quarterbacks, him and Hank Brown, have some decisions where you go, what is he looking at?
Right,
It is the turnovers have been really their undoing as an offense.
right.
You look at some of the metrics for them offensively, you would think they're scoring a lot of points when you look at some of it, and they haven't. And my hope is that this is not the week where they put it all together and start taking care of the football,
Yeah. No,
because they have been careless with the rock.
I agree. All that being said, I really like the matchup with our defense. I think we can control the line of scrimmage with our defensive line and edge guys. I expect our backers to be really good in the run fits in the run game, support players. Um, I haven't seen anything at wide receiver that would lead me to believe that the matchups are something that they're going to really like against our corners. Um, I haven't seen. I think 27 is a solid back and 0 is a solid back, but there's nothing there that suggests that they'll be able to run through or make our guys miss with the way that we've tackled. Um, I I think it's a pretty straightforward game, and I think the matchup is really good for our defense. I expect them to play really well against it. It's going to be a toned down, slower version. I mean, they do more than Tennessee, but the athletes and the offensive line and the personnel wise, it's not close really at any of the position groups unless you see it differently.
No, I I think Tennessee is head and shoulders better than Auburn on both sides of the football. But I do like the system.
Mm-hmm.
And Keandre Lambert Smith has been their big play guy, number 5. He can go.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw, as good as OU's defense was against Tennessee, we saw him give up a couple plays. And the concepts that they gave up those big plays on, Auburn has them. They run them. So that's a mistake. Those are situations where you have to be better if you're OU's defense. I think the only question I have left for you, Ted, is what do you think would make the most sense for OU's defense to play against Auburn?
Man, that's a good question.
Are you, because when I look at it, it's you're probably more concerned about them ripping off some of these big RPO throws than you are about them just bludgeoning you with their run game all day long.
Right.
So, like, do you come out in the same structure that you played against Tennessee and try to take some of that RPO stuff away, because that's exactly what that defense is designed to do.
Yeah, and maybe we see him go back and forth between the
Ooh,
two, but
that would be sweet.
yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I think we were shockingly good at the three-man front stuff. Um, Now it takes our linebackers out of the game to a degree. Uh, you just kind of you're spilling everything and bouncing it all to the outside. You're not They are not in the pass game underneath very much. So, and I think our backers are a weapon. So, my personal bias is always, four-man front.
Uh,
Um,
you and I feel the same about that. Like, if go down playing attacking defense,
yeah,
I feel like that's how we both feel when it comes to the philosophy on the defensive side of the ball. But the 3-3-5 stuff looked really good against
really good.
Tennessee. So it's an interesting decision for Zach Alley and Brent Venables.
Yeah, and also like just the final thought on it, for the first time in a really, really long time, our defensive line is kind of made a little bit more to two gap and be head up on those guys. Now they move a lot out of that three-man front, but it almost suits our defensive line a little bit better and maybe slows down the road. We're not super deep. I really like our rotation. I think our rotation is excellent at defensive line. And I think it allows you to get a little bit more rest with those guys than typical. But I kind of would prefer to see us in the four-man front, just to like Texas is like going to be guessing, like they played the three-man front all the way against Tennessee, played four-man front all the way against Auburn. What do you like? You spend half of your week preparing for the wrong defense. I mean, that chews into people's practice time, man.
No, I I'm really interested to see anything else OU's defense versus that Auburn offense.
I think that's it. I think that's it. I mean, we all know it goes without saying they're going to have to perform really well.
No doubt about it. All right, let's talk about OU's offense against Auburn's defense. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. If you're going to the Auburn game, stop at Love's, people. It's a no-brainer. And you need to download the Love's Connect app today. It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
All you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition plays better and tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company that is now the official drinkware partner of the Oklahoma Sooners. And listen to this, Simple Modern is creating unique, exclusive in-game drinkware, which will be new at every home game. Grab your never-before-seen OU Sooners refillable, reusable cups at OU's concessions all season long. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll know you are helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. Things to watch for OU's offense versus Auburn's defense. There is no doubt Tennessee is a better defense than Auburn. However, when I watch tape, I view it through the lens of a guy that had a lot of experience having to identify fronts, identify personnel, and then communicate blocking schemes, whether it's pass protection or in the run game. And there's just no doubt that Auburn's defense is more difficult to prepare for than Tennessee's. It just is. They are very multiple on defense. Ted, you mentioned the possibility of OU going back and forth between the 3-man front and then more of an attacking style 4-man front.
Yeah.
That's what Auburn does. That's what they do. They have played 3-3-5, the 3 safety defense, where they're playing with the light box and kind of daring you to run the ball. And then they'll play a 4-2-5 structure, whether that's 4-2-5 with an even front or 4-2-5 with odd spacing. You get in 12 personnel. They'll jump into a traditional 3-4 defense. You get in 12 personnel. They'll jump into under G, Ted. I mean, it's under defense, and instead of the guy being in a shade, he's in a G. That's a 2-eye. For those of you that don't know, a 2-eye is the inside shade of the guard. I say all of this to say communicating the front and where their personnel is at on the field is going to be critically important in this football game, especially when you consider how loud it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I assume their fan base is pissed off and not happy right now. But from what I understand, even when they're pissed off and not happy, they show up. So you're going to have to, the offensive line, the tight ends, the running backs, you have to do a great job of identifying what front they're in, who is where. You got to communicate it. You need to see pointing. You need to see talking. You need to see heads turning and talking to each other. There are no secrets on the road, brother. None. Everyone has to be on the same page. And if you're all wrong, so be it. If you're all wrong, you're right. But everyone has to be on the same page. We have seen this football team. We've seen this offense have entirely too many communication breakdowns. That cannot happen in this game. And I don't think it will happen. I think that I have faith that these guys are going to get this right. But you have to talk because, Ted, Auburn does a lot of different things defensively. One stat, number 35, Jalen McLeod, good player, strong player. One snap, he's a hand-down defensive end in a 4-man even front. The next snap, he is a stand-up outside linebacker, body in a 4-man odd spacing front. The next snap, they are in 3-3-5. He is playing inside backer in a light 5-man box. You have to communicate all of that stuff. You got to know where that guy is. You have to ID the front. You got to communicate it. That is the most important thing in this football game for Oklahoma offensively. I know we got a freshman quarterback starting. We'll get to that. But the most important thing for OU's offense in this game is seeing what Auburn is in defensively and communicating that structure. And then you got to follow your rules for whatever structure that is. It's not easy, but it has to happen. Just has to.
Yeah. And you throw all of that together and also it's our first road game of the season. Obviously, it's the first road game for Mike Hawkins. It's his first start. This offensive line has not played together very long, one game. You have a bunch of other guys on the field that it's their first year at Oklahoma as transfer guys or as freshmen that have never been on the road together. So, I mean, you've only got a handful of guys on this offense that have played in a road game, and none of them have played in a road game environment like they're about to see with Auburn.
No. I mean, some of these guys have played in OU Texas, and half the stadium's for you in that game.
Right. Yep.
It's going to be unlike anything any of these guys have experienced. I mean, Auburn has a reputation for a reason.
Yep.
They're also big and physical on defense. They're a good-looking group. They can fly at inside backer. I think the strength of their defensive line is the edge spot. Number 15, Keldrick Falk, he looks enormous. I was watching him on tape. I was looking at him. I was like, how big is this guy? He looks huge. Well, he's 6'6", 290 pounds. Made sense once I saw that.
Yeah. Wow.
McLeod, 35, is a really, really good, versatile player for them. Very physical. I think Auburn's defense is best in their four-man front stuff. I think they're best when they're attacking and they're playing man coverage on the back end. And if I had to guess, I think that's what they're going to go with. Their four-man front stuff, even front, four down odd, play man coverage in the back end. And we've talked about this a lot because I don't think they're going to feel threatened by OU's wide receivers.
Well, and Venables pretty much suggested that they ain't going to be doing much RPO stuff, if any. So, if that's the case, you really would expect them to sell out into an attacking style defense.
They'll probably sprinkle some of the three safety look in there, but I think that they'll major in their more aggressive stuff. Okay, some run game thoughts. Good news. Auburn's defensive line is not as good as Tennessee's. Bad news. They're still big and physical, and with what OU's offensive line has shown up to this point in the season, if they continue to try to bang their head against the wall with the inside zone variation concepts, I don't think this is a group that they're just going to move off the football. They got veteran guys along that defensive line, and they're big and strong. I sound like a broken record. I hope we see some more variety in the run game. Perimeter runs, gap schemes. And I gotta believe that we see some zone read stuff. Simple zone read stuff for Michael Hawkins. Arkansas had quite a bit of success with it with Green. And when the game was on the line for Arkansas, that's what they went to. And you can do it in a variety of ways. If they're in a four down even front, you can just read the end man on the line of scrimmage. It's that simple. I like the stuff when they're in their four-man front and the odd spacing, you read the defensive end that's to the outside linebacker, to the edge guy's side. So you're kind of reading that. It looks like you're not blocking a defensive lineman, which you aren't, but you're reading him instead. I think these are very easy things to do. Mm-hmm. So I will be shocked if we don't see some of that from Oklahoma on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully if it's true or smokescreen, I don't know, but with the RPO stuff not being as heavily involved with the game plan moving forward, would you expect to see the offensive line coming off the would there be a technique change?
Don't get me excited, man. Don't do that to me.
Just a question. I mean, I know.
I hope if you are, and I just call them give it runs, where the quarterback's going to give it. You got to imagine we'll see some more velocity off the football from the offensive line.
Instead of being a positional thing that's, I guess, easier to read, you should have some coming off some violence, which leads me to my next question. Are we going to see yet another starting group on the offensive line? You think Everett maybe plays guard?
If Everett is ready to go, and I do not know exactly where he is.
You said he looked good in warmups.
He looked fantastic. He looked the best of anyone. He looked like the only guy. That's not fair.
Maybe he knew he wasn't playing and was.
That could be it. He could be empty in the tank because he knew he wasn't playing. But the intensity that he warmed up with in that for that football game, and he was kind of the break glass in case of emergency guy for that game.
Right.
The intensity he warmed up with is the intensity I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. That's the. If he's looking like that during the week of practice, you have to put that guy on the field. Whether it's center or guard, I don't care. He's undersized. I don't care. I know what it looks like. And that guy cares. He
And he's
knows
got
the system. And
experience.
that's,
Like,
hey, if you know the system and you play your ass off, good things are going to happen. If you're undersized, so be it. I was very critical of him and the way he played guard last year. He was just holding on for dear life. That was not his position. I think he's a little heavier, a little stronger. And if that knee's ready to go, get him on the field. I don't care where it's at.
yeah.
I do care where it's at. Don't play him at tackle. That would be very silly. Don't do that. Don't do that to him. But do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah.
that guy cares. That guy desperately wants to be on the field.
I mean, you can only have. Uh, you wish you had guys that are monsters that want to be out there really bad, that know where they're going and have a ton of experience, that could communicate, that you want those guys are in the NFL, like whenever you find,
That's Georgia.
right. So you're picking from a couple of things, like, and one of them, if you want to be out there, you're playing aggressive and you know where you're going, that's a great place to start.
You can get effort can cover up a lot of deficiencies in football on the offensive line.
Effort and technique.
If Auburn wants to play their three safety stuff with the 5-man box, you have to be able to run the football. You have the numbers advantage. You've got 5 offensive linemen for the 5 guys in the core. You have to be able to move the defensive linemen with your double teams and come off to the second level. You just have to. There's a variety of concepts you can get to, but in all of those, you are either 5 for 5 or 6 for 5.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make it work. Pass game thoughts. Wide receivers, the wide receivers for OU have to be extremely physical in this game. Auburn's defensive backs grab like crazy in man coverage, and they have not been called for. So why would they stop doing it? I think K and Lee, number 4, is a really good player at corner, but Reagans, Thompson, Jacoby Johnson, you got to battle, man. It is going to be a physical test for those guys because they're going to grab and grab and grab. That's what they do. I know that they see it on tape. You have to play through it. And that's how you play the wide receiver position with physicality. When guys are grabbing you, you got to get them off you. And they need to test the limits of what offensive pass interference are in this game. Because if they're grabbing like hell, you should be able to chop. You should be able to step. You should be able to get away with all that stuff. And the ref should say, hey, fair game. But that they are going to grab the hell out of the wide receivers. What are you going to do about it?
And we're one game in, but I feel like there was a lot of contact on both sides in that Tennessee game with the wide receivers and defensive backs. And people have talked about it in the past. The SEC lets a lot more go on the outside with the wide receivers and DBs. So far, that looks true to me, and you have to adjust to the officiating.
Yeah.
Offense, they're not going to bail you out. Defense, get physical and test the limits.
I completely agree. I think they're going to play a lot of man. Got to bust out the rub routes. Call them whatever you want to call them. You got to switch releases. Get in bunch out wide, getting some stack alignments.
Snap the ball with guys on the move.
I think that any way you can create cleaner releases for these wide receivers, you got to do it. And then there's all kinds of cover one beaters. You got to execute them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to execute it. Guys got to win. You also have to get you got to get some guys that are unselfish and go buy that deep safety. And then the other guys got to win. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like, but it's a big challenge for OU's wide receivers. I will say Auburn in their three safety look, they do some strange stuff covering the running back out of the backfield. They've got a safety number one, Jaron Thompson, who is covering the back out of the backfield in some of these looks from 15 yards deep. So if you just raise up and throw it right to the running back in the flat, you could be in good business. And overall, kind of in general, defensively, it looks to me like they just give you the running back in the flat. They kind of say, "Hey, if that's the throw you want to make, then go ahead."
They're giving you the short outlet, trying to pressure everything else, give you the short outlet and say, if you can beat us throwing a check down or a swing all day, then do it. So you got to at least test it.
If the protection holds up, there are plays to be made for Mike Hawkins in the passing game. I think Auburn is particularly poor in zone coverage, especially in the three safety stuff. I don't think that they have a great understanding of where to drop and kind of how to work together in those concepts. But if the protection holds up and they're playing man, wide receivers got to win, and Hawkins has to deliver the football on time. And I know that we've got a very small sample size, but he seems like he understands the timing of all this stuff. And if it's there, he's going to let it rip. So I'm excited to see if, these wide receivers do win, if there can be some big explosive gains in the passing game, which this team has been in desperate seek of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense, but
seeking
desperately. I don't know, but the opportunities will be there if the protection is good and the wide receivers can win. I know those are two big ifs, but you see them giving up big plays in the passing game to other football teams.
Yeah. If I was a defensive coordinator against a true freshman quarterback, I would major in man-to-man and have a handful of change-ups to zone. Man-to-man, you want to get up there and challenge and put pressure on the quarterback. And you could do that without even calling blitzes if your backers are hug rushing, and force him under pressure to throw into tight windows in man-to-man, and then change it up in zone, disguise, and see if he'll throw you the football.
Yep. Couple pass pro thoughts. You have to ID the fronts. You have to ID the personnel. You got to know where 35 is. McLeod. How are you going to factor him in when it comes to the count? The offensive line and the running backs, you got to know where each other are going. Once again, going to be loud. Point, talk, no secrets on the road. When I look at their defensive line, the 15 and 35 are the two guys as pass rushers where you go, okay. 15's got some long levers. Big dude, 35's powerful. He's got a nice little toolbox of pass rush moves off the edge. None of the interior guys have really flashed to me as pass rushers. 97 can really run in the open field, but they do a decent job collapsing the pocket. They'll get in bare, but they do it a little differently than what you saw from Tennessee or what you see from OU's defense. They bring the linebacker head up on the center. And their goal is, hey, let's just draw the center's attention and let's see if these other guys can win. Let's try to sometimes they'll just go up there and kind of like slap the center. And they run twist games off of that. So you have to anticipate those things. If you're the guards and tackles, they'll get to that in second and long, third and long. And then Ted, I regret to inform you, third and long, they've got the best pressure package that OU's seen so far.
Okay.
Their six-man pressures are tough. And what they are doing, they are baiting you into a four-man slide. They are baiting the offensive line into a four-man slide, and then they're bringing two away from that to where you only got one running back and you got two guys, and a guy is free. And you got to pick one if you're the running back. And I have diagrams. I've diagrammed the blitzes. I know some people have asked us to do this in the past, but what they're doing. So B means ball. B's the center. This is why you should watch on YouTube, people. What they're doing is they're putting 25 or 24 or 35, which is their outside linebacker type guy, at inside backer. They've got a defensive lineman here, defensive lineman there. They're trying to make you send a four-man slide that way. And then they bring two away. So they'll bring the linebacker, they'll bring the DB. Running back can't block them both. Mm-hmm. And they'll do it. He steps up at the snap and pretends like he's coming, and then he gets out. They're playing zero behind it, and he's the rat. That's an old Rex Ryan term for you. But he is, and they do it kind of in different alignments, but basically the goal is get you to four-man slide and bring two elements away to where the running back can only take one guy and the other guy is free. And it's tough, and I'm very interested to see how OU handles it, because if it were me, I would not take the bait. Now, if you don't take the bait and you show that the first time they get in this structure, what are they going to do? They're going to bring that edge guy. And then you're going to have to adjust because they'll be able to see it very quickly on the iPad. Like, hey, they're not falling for it. Let's bring it. We're going to bring it all from that side now. So it's tough. Whoever's designing those six-man pressures for them understands offensive line rules and is using the rules that most O-lines are going to use against it. It's smart. They're baiting you.
Yeah. I like it.
So we'll see. Now, you could just say, hey, we're going to four-man slide it. Mike Hawkins, they're going to bring two. You got to beat this guy with the ball. We're going to leave the outside go. You got to beat him with the football. I don't know if we have HOTS or side adjust built into this offense, but if that's how you treat it, you better.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be an unblocked guy.
Well, that's going to be difficult with a patchwork offensive line that hasn't worked together very often, and the crowd noise and all of those things. It's going to be very important to get in the right protection. And how often do they change it? Do they change protection very often, or is it kind of called and they roll with it?
I have not seen a quarterback go up to the offensive line this year and say, no, we're going here. Maybe you've seen it. You got a better view during the game than I do up in the booth. I have not seen that type of.
I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I don't recall that.
It would make me really happy to see it happen. It would make me even happy to see the offensive line give a signal like, hey, we're going right, we're going left. We've diagnosed what pressure they're bringing. We feel good about it. I'm sending it this way. I'm sending it that way. I don't think I've seen any of that either.
Yeah.
This may be the week for it, though, because Auburn's, they've got some good pressure stuff. They really do. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you'll be watching for in OU-Auburn. This first one's going to bring joy to your heart, Ted. This one comes from Not Sure. Special teams. I trust the D will travel. Offense needs all the help it can get on the road with a first-time starting true freshman quarterback. I'm expecting a close game, and special teams could be the swaying factor.
That's right. I think it is safe to say that our offense is probably going to struggle to score a lot of points the rest of the season. That's just kind of how it is. You know, some of that is, you know, because of our personnel. Some of it is because of who we're going to be playing. in order to win football games, we don't have very much margin. We have to win two of the three phases, and it's most likely our best chance is going to be defense and special teams. And special teams has been pretty good. We haven't made all of our kicks, but punter has performed really well. We've got really good coverage units. So, yeah, I totally agree.
This other one comes from Jared Hall, and he says he'll be looking for to see if the defense can be as dominant and effective on the road as they have been at home, and what changes to the offense's game plan / play calling have been made since last week. That's an interesting thought. This defense, in your opinion, I mean, the crowd noise certainly helps you at home, but I don't know if there's some big difference going and playing defense on the road. I mean, that could be wrong.
I loved playing defense on the road. Uh, there's really not a lot that changes other than your typical road game stuff. You know, it's difficult on the offense now because it gets loud and create a bunch of chaos, and there's big swings of momentum, and it's typically felt whenever the offense is out there on the field. But for the defense, I don't think a whole lot should change for them. I expect them to travel really well.
I'm with you. All right, let's talk to Jason Caldwell and learn a little bit more about the Auburn Tigers. But first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products. Use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. Like to keep it simple, just a bun, dog, mustard, and ketchup. And the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculously good. Schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
And three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they're honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right. Here's Jason Caldwell. It is our pleasure to be joined by a man that has been covering the Auburn Tigers for 25 years for Auburn Undercover and now 24/7 Sports. Jason Caldwell is in the house. How we doing, man?
I'm good. How about y'all? Y'all good?
Great. Excited for our first trip to Auburn. Little nervous, I won't lie, but excited.
We worried about the
Yeah.
weather at all?
Yeah, I think we'll be good Saturday. Now, you guys coming in probably, I don't know, Thursday, something like that. I don't know, but we'll have some rain come through, and looks like it'll be through here probably midday on Friday. And surface is great, drain, all that stuff. So it'll be a good surface on Saturday, but we'll have a little bit of rain probably the next couple of days.
Love hearing that. The head coach has made some waves these last couple of weeks. What? How have Hugh Freeze's comments? How have those gone over locally, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some people that if you're old school, you have a problem with coaches, but then you have folks that go, "Hey, for years people have been asking coaches not to have coach speak and just speak their minds." And quite honestly, I think he's right. I think Auburn was a team that probably wins that game 9 out of 10 times if you don't turn it over 5 times. But you did, and so that's part of it too. That's part of the game. But I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. He said, "Hey, I give Arkansas all the credit. They did what they had to do to win." But we talked to players, and they said, "Look, it's been self-inflicted, and much of it has been. You have to eliminate those things, though, if you want to start winning football games." And so there's some people that are bothered, but this, of course, you're going to have a portion of the fan base. As I told somebody this week, Georgia loses to Alabama Saturday, there'll be people in Athens that'll be mad at Kirby Smart for some reason, but that's just the way of the world now.
That's it. Now, turnovers you mentioned, that's right, been the Achilles heel so far this year. Is there one place where you can point where the majority of the blame, or has it been kind of spread around? What's the feeling on that?
Yeah, it's been kind of spread around. You've had quarterbacks make some poor decisions at times. You've had a couple of balls that could have and maybe should have been caught that go off receivers' hands, and they've had a couple of fumbling issues too. So it's been a little bit of everything, and so it's kind of one of those times when you feel like every time a ball's tipped and in the air, it goes directly to a defender. It kind of feels like one of those moments where, man, everything that could go bad has gone bad in those two losses. If you're Auburn, you hope they all piled up in 2 games and you get rid of them a little bit, but you have to make better decisions. That's part of it. But I think they have done some good things offensively. The drives that have ended and not in turnovers have usually ended pretty well. But you have to avoid those things. But yeah, it's probably been a combination of things that probably more decision making quarterback wise. I thought Peyton Thorne was better once he got back in last Saturday, but probably a little bit of everything.
What are you expecting the quarterback situation to look like for this game?
I would guess Peyton Thorne because of his experience and because of his ability to run the football. Oklahoma defense is no joke, and so they're going to come and attack. And I think probably having a little bit more athletic guy back there would probably be the case, and then a guy with more experience. So I would guess Peyton Thorne would be the guy on Saturday. We got a few minutes of a window yesterday in practice, and there was kind of those guys rotating as normal. Peyton's usually the guy that takes the first snaps. Last week he wasn't. It was Hank Brown. This week he was back to being the guy that took the snaps first. So I would lean more towards Peyton Thorne at this point.
What do you think are the major differences between the two quarterbacks?
I think experience is one. Peyton's played a ton of football, and then probably athleticism. I mean, Peyton is a pretty athletic guy. He's not a guy that people would look at and think he was a great runner. I think he's probably above average runner. Hank's probably a guy that's probably average at best runner. Hank's a better deep ball thrower. That's probably his strength is if he can stand in the pocket and throw the deep ball. But his arm strength probably isn't as good. And people want, well, how's that? Sometimes those things aren't relatable. Hank can throw the deep ball because he has good anticipation, good touch. But Peyton's probably a little bit better at throwing into windows, and that might be better needed against Oklahoma as well.
Who are the playmakers? If Auburn's going to score some points against a good Oklahoma defense, who are the playmakers that need to step up for the Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, Keandre Lambert-Smith, the Penn State transfer, has been the guy so far for this offense. I mean, he is already, I think, 20 yards from where their leading receiver was a year ago. He already has 5 touchdowns. So he's been a guy that has been a playmaker and been the most consistent of those guys. Cam Coleman's a 5-star freshman that had a good start, had a shoulder issue against Cal, missed New Mexico, came back last week, had a couple of plays. He should be closer to full speed. And he's a guy that I think he's a future NFL guy. I mean, he's 6'3", 210, can run, athletic and can turn and run, do all those things. I think he's a guy. Malcolm Simmons is another true freshman that is a quick playmaker guy on the outside. So this is an offense that has a lot more weapons than any Auburn team has had in a long time in terms of outside guys. Now, a lot of them are freshmen. They have 3 freshmen that are going to play at wide receiver. And then, the running game, Jarquez Hunter is a guy that comes back with a ton of experience and has been really good. They've run the ball well. They just haven't had enough plays to run it enough. And that's the thing. Oklahoma doesn't give up very much in the run game. So I think you look outside, the X factor is Rivaldo Fairweather, the tight end that comes back from last year. If you can run it a little bit and get some play outside, he's a guy that can be a mismatch problem inside. He was their leading receiver last year. He's had a couple of big plays so far this season. He's still probably the X factor for this group because of the middle of the field.
You mentioned Oklahoma's defense stopping the run, and they've been pretty good, and feels like they're still maybe haven't peaked. They're getting better and better week by week. What do you think is the most important thing for Auburn to get rolling to have some success?
Yeah, I think it's decision making at the quarterback because this is an RPO system, and so um, that's going to be dependent on the quarterback making the right decisions at the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be a numbers game. Hey, if the numbers tell you you need to run the football, then you need to run it, and have some success doing that. But you're going to get a lot of different looks, you know that, and Brent Venables is a guy that Auburn fans have seen a bunch from his days back at Clemson. So you know what kind of defense it's going to be. It's a physical front. Known Todd Bates for a long time from back when he was from Alabama coming home for him from right up the road. So we know it's going to be a physical front. And so I think you look at it, it becomes a numbers game when you're talking RPO. Can you make the right decisions in the RPO game? And Hugh Freeze has leaned on that his entire career. My guess is they'll lean on it even more this week, and that falls on the quarterback and decision making.
Looking at the defensive side of the ball for the Tigers, what do you think has been the biggest strength of the defense so far this season?
Yeah, it's really funny because we had to rebuild this group. They had to rebuild this entire roster. To be quite honest, it was a total disaster when Hugh Freeze took over, to say the least. So they've had to rebuild the entire thing. A lot of that has been done through the transfer portal on both lines of scrimmage, because you don't snap your fingers and play 5 true freshmen on the lines of scrimmage. You might play 1 or 2, but you got to have some older bodies. And so they had to go get transfers for the second year to bridge the gap in recruiting. So Isaiah Rakes is a guy that comes over from Texas A&M. He's a bigger body guy that's playing some football for them. Couple more transfers that have helped out, but I think the strength has been the front 7, and they've played some 3-man front at times, and been successful. The big issue for them has been third downs, and that was a huge issue for them last week against Arkansas. 3rd and long situations, and Taylor Green, athletic quarterback, keeping plays alive, and then attacking a secondary that for Auburn, you lose one of your best players last week in Champ Anthony, who broke a leg early in the first quarter in that game. So now at Auburn, you've got a true sophomore cornerback. You got a redshirt sophomore cornerback who's really in his first year playing after transferring from Alabama. And then you have a redshirt freshman cornerback, a true freshman cornerback. This is a young group. Now, it's talented, but you don't have a ton of experience. So I think the front is your older, more established guys. And then that secondary is a group of guys that especially at corner, haven't played a lot of football.
Now, Brent Venables said that Mike Hawkins is going to be starting, barring a disaster, were his exact words. True freshman quarterback, has hardly played, came in the second half against Tennessee. Do you expect anything different defensively from Auburn because of that, or stick with kind of what they've been going with?
Yeah, it's a group that can create some pressure, but it's a lot of it is created. I know Oklahoma's offensive line has struggled a little bit at times too. Keldrick Falk's a guy that I would watch for Auburn, defensive end, true sophomore, but he is a Julius Peppers potential type guy. This guy's 6'6", 285 pounds, and can play hand on the ground, stand up, really athletic. And so he's a guy that gives them a lot of pass rush ability. I would expect him to show him a bunch of different looks. That's what they've done some. They've been pretty basic. Last week they ramped it up a little bit. But you have to be careful because the guy can run. And that's the thing you have to watch for is sending so much pressure, leaving yourself vulnerable if he gets outside. So I think they'll mix it up and try to show him as many different things as possible. But I would expect them to try to at least pressure and maybe spy at some point as well. So I think you'll see a lot of different things.
Jason, last one will let you get out of here, man. A lot of Sooners are making the trip. What are the must-dos? What do OU fans that are coming to Auburn for the first time? What do we need to do before the game, after the game? Like, what are your recommendations? We'll take them all.
Yeah, I think there's lots of things obviously to check out. Game day itself, Auburn will have its Tiger Walk, and a lot of people do it, but Auburn has been doing it for a long time since Coach Dye, since the 80s. And so if you'll do that on the south end of the stadium, there'll be Auburn fans there. They'll kind of gather. It's about 2 hours before kickoff. So folks kind of go check that out and kind of see what that's like. That's a great part. Make sure you're in the stadium because they will fly an eagle, and it's an actual eagle, and it will fly and it will land at midfield. And so that's 15, 20 minutes before kickoff. So those are things to check out on game day for sure. But obviously you got to go to Toomer's Corner. That is one of the things. It's an easy walk from the stadium, but if you're in town on Friday, downtown areas has some spots there. It's small town feel still, but Toomer's has lemonade. It's tart. It'll turn your mouth inside out. But that's one place you have to check out as well. And then just some of the downtown areas, campus itself. A lot of places to kind of go take in.
Any go-to restaurants, bars, anything you really recommend?
There's a lot of places, like I said, downtown area. There's a lot of things that you'll have a chance to do. Downtown. It's been a long time since I've seen the bar scene, so I don't do that. But there are places, a couple of like 1716 is a place downtown that'll be Friday night. Like Sky Bar area downtown. Those are two kind of open, bigger places for folks to check out. For the older crowd, a little bit, there are a couple of places that are new hotels, like the Graduate and some of those things that have collegiate, that have upstairs places. And one of those has a reincarnation of what used to be an old place in Auburn called the War Eagle Supper Club. It's long gone now, but it was a place that, hey, membership card, you show up, and they don't close the doors till about 4 o'clock in the morning. They could pass the laws because they were a club. So you bought a membership, you went in. They've reestablished that at one of these new places, and so they have all the old signage, all those old things back. Not like it used to be, but it still gives you a little bit of the nostalgia. So a couple of those places are there to check out, and then downtown restaurant scene. There's some places, but if you want to kind of fine dining and you're looking for something different, Acre is downtown. That is a guy. David Bancroft, who won Iron Chef. He's an Auburn guy, and probably have to get a reservation. You might want to do that today. But it's burgers, things, but it's dressed up. It's really good. And he also has a place in town called Bow and Arrow that is a little bit more Texas style barbecue, but old school Auburn barbecue, Byron Smokehouse. If people want breakfast, Saturday morning, go for breakfast because it's the best thing. It's the best thing maybe in this town, period. So there's a couple of spots.
Good recommendations. One last thing real quickly for me, Gabe. Environment. We've heard, everyone has said that it's crazy no matter what, and it's loud no matter what. But what's the fan base's kind of reaction to Oklahoma coming to town? We've never been there before. Is there maybe a little more juice on this one, or what's kind of been the talk down there?
Yeah, I think if it was 4-0, I think it would be blowing the roof off. It's still going to be great because, yes, people have been waiting for this. Is kind of the game that, Atlanta, Birmingham, they're big pockets of Auburn fans in both. Atlanta, you guys, when you fly in Atlanta, from the airport to Auburn, it's an hour and a half. I mean, it's a short distance. So there's a huge amount of fans in the places like that. But Panhandle, Florida, this is kind of the game that everybody has probably pointed to going, hey, when you want to plan our tailgates, you want to do those things. This has been one of those weeks that everybody's pointed to. So, yeah, I think it'll be a great environment. 2:30. I know a lot of folks are hoping it was a night game because everything amps up a little bit more at night, no matter where you are. I think it'll be a great environment. It'll be loud. Students be into it. Yeah, it's been a game that I think everybody has kind of been waiting for and pointing towards that first time, much like next year when folks get a chance to come out there.
Should be fun. Jason, appreciate the time. Congratulations, 25 years. That's a hell of an accomplishment, man. And hopefully Teddy and we do the radio broadcast. So hopefully we'll bump into you on Saturday, man.
Absolutely. I'll try to see if I can find you guys before the game.
All right. Appreciate you, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
It's good to hear that it sounds like we're going to get the Auburn experience.
Yeah, we're going to be amped up, and hope people are taking notes. That was some dining information right there, wasn't it?
That was fantastic. I'm sure fans are. I don't remember what it was called, but they're called to try to make reservations.
Right.
All right, let's get to our Week 5 college football previews. But first,
Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered, from small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com, promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. College football week 5, and oh boy, big one. Number 2 Georgia travels to Tuscaloosa to take on number 4 Alabama. This will be prime time, 6:30 on ABC. Georgia is currently a 2-point favorite on the road. And Ted, it almost feels like it should be against the law for Alabama to be able to play the underdog at home card. That doesn't feel fair. This is ridiculous. It's not fair. This should be against the law.
Yeah. What is the first time since like 2007 or something like that that they've been an underdog in their own stadium? And they're playing well, and it feels like they're going to continue to improve. So, and Georgia on the other, Georgia is interesting to me. I can never tell if there's like some legitimate issues there and maybe they've plateaued, or do they just get bored until they've got a big matchup and then they show up ready to roll. But they haven't given up a touchdown since the last time they played Alabama last year. So they're still playing good on that side of the ball. I think it's going to be a good contest, man.
I find it very interesting that, let's be real, Kirby has not fared well against Bama.
Yeah.
Now Saban is gone. I get that, but all these guys from Bama are going to be very, very confident walking into this football game. And there is going to be an incredible amount of talent on the field in this game. NFL players everywhere you look. But I think Bama has the home field advantage, and I think Bama has the most dynamic player on the field. And that's Jalen Milroe. It seems like Kalen DeBoer has been able to help him grow as a passer. At least he looks more confident as a passer. And the dude is an absolute weapon with his legs, whether it's called QB run game or maybe the most terrifying thing, him as a scrambler. And I don't see a playmaker like that so far for Georgia. I think Carson Beck is really good. But I don't see a playmaker like Milroe for Georgia. So that's why I think Alabama's going to win the football game.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. Georgia has kind of struggled, or I guess struggled against Kentucky offensively, didn't run the ball very well, found themselves in 3rd and long quite a bit, which, they're typically able to avoid. I kind of think it comes down to how does Alabama's defense play. I think Georgia, like I said, struggles a little bit at times for motivation going into football games, and maybe feeling like some games don't deserve their full attention. It's what happens whenever you win as much as they've won lately. It's hard to keep those guys bought in and focused and not feel like they're just going to walk out there and beat everyone. So I feel like Georgia's going to have a little bit more edge to them in this one than what we've seen this year. And, we saw it against Clemson in the second half. Once they really got rolling, they looked really, really good. So I think I'm going to go with Georgia, but I honestly believe it's a coin flip game. And I'm anxious to see what's the fallout both sides with a loss. Because Georgia, didn't make the playoff last year. I mean, they've obviously got it rolling, but, when you've been as good as they have for so long, are people going to feel like the window's leaving them? And for Alabama, if they lose, are they going to feel like this is the Saban effect, as good as we've been against Georgia, and now that he's gone, we've got him at home and we can't pull off the win? Is that going to be something that kind of hurts us down the stretch? I don't know. Just kind of curious how both of these teams respond. Whoever loses the game, how they respond, and what's the fallout.
If I was Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban's in the building all week with me.
No kidding.
I do think this is a game that could come down to 5 or 6 throws for Carson Beck. And I think that a lot of people view him kind of as the best version, like as an elite game manager. And if he can go out in this game and make the difference-making throws, and it feels like he goes and wins Georgia the football game, and they walk out of there with a win, I think that will change how, not all, but some people view him. And there are going to be plays to be made against that Alabama secondary. Does he make the throws or not? Does that wide receiver core go and win? But my last thought on the game is there are a lot of negatives to conference realignment. This football game is not one of them.
Right.
Divisionless SEC because OU and Texas joined. And now we get to watch, let's be real, we get to watch the 2 premier programs in college football go at it in the regular season. We don't have to wait till the SEC championship game like we have for a lot of years. And I love it. Let's go.
I totally agree. It's awesome. And it pretty much every single week for the rest of the year, there's going to be an awesome SEC matchup. Well, let me ask you one more quick question on that game. What quarterback, kind of forget that it's at Alabama, and I know it is, and you have to factor that in this game, but what quarterback do you trust more to be able to put a game-winning drive together?
Milroe.
And
it's nothing against Carson Beck. Watching Jalen Milroe at his size run the way that he does, I'm not a defensive guy, but it stresses me out for defenses.
2-minute drill with the quarterback that can scramble is a nightmare.
Carson Beck's great. I think he's probably going to be the first quarterback off the board in the draft, but Milroe is he terrifies me with his athleticism.
Well,
and some people try to make it sound like the guy can't even like his arm doesn't work, like he can't throw the football.
Right.
He can push it down the field. I know that.
He's probably I guess the closest thing, and I think he's more athletic, but I can't think of another quarterback other than Dak Prescott that's got similar size and can move.
Similar build, yeah.
Because he's athletic, but most athletic quarterbacks are not built like a Mike linebacker. They're usually smaller frame guys that have quickness and whatever. He's gigantic.
If you didn't say anything and you put him in let's say you put him in a 20 or in a 40 or in a 50, and you put him at Mike linebacker for Alabama, who's got creatures all over the field, no one would blink.
No.
They'd go, that guy. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look at the size on that guy at the Mike Backer spot. That's exactly what they would say. The guy is a freak show.
Me if they pulled what was the guy's name at Iowa State? What Lanning? What was the guy? He played quarterback and linebacker for him
at Iowa State.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about. It wasn't. Yeah, no, it was Lanning. Joel Lanning.
That his last name? Something like that.
No, I think you're right. I think it was Lanning. Nailed it. I think you got it.
I was lucky. I don't know how that happened.
Look at you.
Played quarterback and linebacker. Nice.
On to the next game. Number 20 Oklahoma State traveling to Manhattan to take on number 23 Kansas State, 11 a.m. on ESPN. Kansas State currently a 4.5-point favorite at home. And this one feels, it's only week 5. I don't want to be dramatic, but this one feels big for both teams with them both coming off a loss. And
it feels big for a totally different reason than it did a week ago.
Yes, it feels like a Big 12 contender elimination game. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also kind of feels like whoever, like, let's say Oklahoma State loses the football game. Then you're looking and saying, wow, they got away with one against Arkansas. They got pushed around against Utah. And then they just lost to a Kansas State team that got blown out by BYU. I mean, you go from a team that was considered one of the favorites to win the Big 12, and you start to say, are we any good at all? And kind of the same thing for K-State. You know, it's like after that BYU game and how they've looked a little bit this year, and all of a sudden this one looks like if you lose to Oklahoma State at home, well, how good are we? You know, it's pretty wild. Neither team has really looked like we expected them to up to this point.
Feels like a big one for Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
And his confidence. And because he did not play particularly well in Provo last weekend. And let's be real, Oklahoma State's defense is gettable. They are susceptible to the big play. It's not like they've been some wrecking crew defensively. They gave up big plays to Utah's backup, right? And he had some massive plays with his legs in that game. But I do wonder if we'll see Kansas State be a little more run heavy overall and kind of play to the strengths of Avery Johnson. But on the other side of things, K-State is giving you the run game. They play the 3-3-5 stuff. They say, hey, if you want to run it for 3 yards, 4 yards a pop, go ahead. We're not going to give up the big plays. If they can't get Ollie Gordon going against this K-State defense, then it's going to be a very long season for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of been the big shock. Now, I did think before the season started that Ollie Gordon's not going to surprise anyone this year and get rolling before people start to really focus on eliminating him. It feels like everyone has the main focus is eliminate Ollie Gordon, and there ain't much left. So curious to see how K-State plays that. If they kind of play standard 3-3-5 philosophy, bend, don't break, make you go all the way down the field, wait on you to make the first mistake, or do they say, let's crowd them, let's attack them, let's shut down the run game, and we'll put it on the arm of Bowman and see if we can get him in 3rd and long and have him throw us the football.
Give me K-State at home. I think they're just a different team in Manhattan, and I don't know if you can't run the ball at all. As much as I like Brennan Presley as a player, feed that man, Alan Bowman. Come on. As much as I like some of the receivers for Oklahoma State, if you can't run the ball, man, it's hard to play offense at a high level. It just is.
I didn't hear Gundy. Are we sure it's Bowman?
You can't run Garrett Rangel out there, man. You just can't. Maybe he will. Hey, Gundy will do whatever he pleases. He's my Gundy, but I don't know. I assume it's going to be Bowman. They pulled him. They brought him back in.
Yeah.
Last week. It's got to be Bowman.
Yeah. That's what I would expect, but I guess you never know. I'm going K-State too, and I'm only because I don't think Oklahoma State is going to be able to get Ollie Gordon going. And until they do, I think it's going to be hard for him to beat anybody at this point. So maybe they figure something out and finally get him off and running, get him some confidence and get confident in that running game. But until it happens, I'm going to take the other side, unfortunately.
Are you more interested in Louisville at Notre Dame or Illinois at Penn State?
Probably Illinois at Penn State,
Really?
but well, I think Illinois is a sneaky good football team that doesn't get a lot of credit and hasn't gotten a lot of credit for a while, but they're really solid on defense. And, you know, his teams have always played physical. They're just a good, solid all around team. But
He's also been poking the bear. You see that?
no, what
Whiteout
do you say?
energy, whatever the hell that means. I mean, Bielema is, I mean, he is not shied away. He is, I mean, he is antagonizing Penn State's crowd leading
Good
into
for
this
him.
football game, which I love.
Yeah.
They're also a 17.5 point dog.
Uh, hey, embrace the difficulty. Let's make it as hard as we can on ourselves. I guess there's got to be something to say for that.
The
But the
Teddy
Louisville
Lehman
Notre Dame
method.
game is it's interesting. Notre Dame has found themselves kind of teetering, haven't they?
Yeah, how long do you think it'll take people to realize that you have to have Peacock to watch that football game? I think people probably still have it from the Olympics. Don't you think?
I think everyone at this point has everything. They've
All the
accomplished
streaming services.
they've accomplished the goal where everyone is like triple dipping. Everyone has like direct TV or cable and all the streaming services and like Hulu and YouTube and all of those things. At least that's what this household is like.
Number 15 Louisville at number 16 Notre Dame. That's 2:30 on Peacock. Am I crazy to think that Louisville can go into South Bend and win this game outright?
No,
I,
not
Tyler
crazy
Shuck
at
is
all.
healthy. When he's healthy, he's a good player. And Louisville's defense they have held up well to the run this season. You know that's what Notre Dame is going to want to do. Notre Dame is undoubtedly their biggest test yet. But I don't think it's crazy to think that Riley Leonard is going to have to make some throws in this game for Notre Dame to produce offensively. And he has not looked good throwing the football this season so far.
Notre Dame has been fantastic so far at taking really good, productive quarterbacks and turning them into average or below average players really quickly. There's something about the place that the offense it will never, ever be explosive. It's not going to happen.
Jackson Arnold, the quarterback for Notre Dame next year.
I don't know. We'll see how the rest of this year goes. Hey,
There's a lot of football to be played for Oklahoma, but it just throwing it out there.
I will say if Mike Hawkins starts the rest of the season, and that's what we have, Jeff Lebby is going to have a full court press to get Jackson Arnold to Mississippi State.
Agreed. Fair.
But whether or not he could, I mean, there's going to be a bunch of people, I would guess.
I think Notre Dame can outbid Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know that for a fact, but just something to think about. Jackson Arnold could lead a second half comeback against Auburn, and that could be a completely pointless.
I will say, like, this is not this portion of the podcast, but I think we're going to need him again this year. And
Yeah.
Mike Hawkins is going to run around, not a big guy. He wasn't in very long before he went flipping onto his head into the end zone. So, you know, we're going to need him to still be a part of this football team for sure.
One more thought on the Notre Dame Louisville game. It feels like a massive game for Marcus Freeman. You lost to Northern Illinois at home, who then went and lost the next week, by the way. You can't be losing to Northern Illinois and Louisville.
No,
if you're Notre Dame.
Not when you start the season as a top 10 football team.
Yeah. So feels rather significant for Marcus Freeman's future. I think everyone around there really likes him. I think he's recruiting at a high level.
Yes.
I think he's improving the roster. quarterback continues to be an issue for him, but it's a results-driven business.
Yep.
You lost to Northern Illinois at home. You only get one of those.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Louisville, I think Jeff Brom's a heck of a coach. I think they can go in there and win that game, but that would not be good for Marcus Freeman's future at Notre Dame.
It's gonna get uncomfortable for sure. At a minimum, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable.
Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
I got to go with Justin Fields. He's 3-0 as a starter for the Steelers, and I think a lot of people thought his career was over whenever he left the Bears. Russell Wilson's been injured. He's done a good job. He's, for the most part, taking care of the football. They've got the best defense in the NFL right now. He's played to that strength. Russell Wilson is back and healthy. Tomlin says, I'm not saying who's starting, but there's no way they're starting Russell Wilson. It feels like to me, Justin Fields, and it's early, things can go bad, but it feels like he's kind of winning the divorce right now.
That's an interesting way of putting it, because you look at Caleb Williams and what's going on with the Bears. Everyone was saying, oh, what an awesome situation for a rookie to walk into. Well,
he'll come. I mean, I think he's going to come.
He's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Caleb Williams, but hey, 3-0 is 3-0. And what Pittsburgh needs is, hey, play to the strengths of your football team.
Yep.
Just have a game manager at quarterback that happens to be an incredible athlete, can extend some drives with his legs, and then, hey, just don't turn the football over.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 3 games, I think he threw an interception on Sunday, so he's got 1 interception because he was clean in his first 2 starts. So just, hey, manage the game. Don't do anything ridiculous, and play to the defense, who looks really good.
Really good. And
it's a good formula to win football games.
It is. It's, say what you want about Russell Wilson. Weird dude. Weird dude. And is getting weirder, okay? But I think it's good for Fields to have Russell Wilson in the room. He's got a ton of experience. Early in his career, he had the best defense in the NFL, and he was kind of a manager type player. And obviously, as he got better and better, more experienced, it opened up. But I mean, there's a lot of similarities there, and it might be good to have him in the room, but maybe he's a weird in the room too, and maybe it's not good. I don't know, but he brings some experience to the table. Whether or not he can help Fields with it, I guess I don't know, but it is there for Fields to be able to draw on.
Yeah, it's I do wonder, hey, is Russell Wilson acting as a mentor? Is he helping him, or is it a weird relationship? I don't know. But you got to start the quarterback that won you the first 2 games. Oh. You will, the locker room, yeah, and it's Mike Tomlin. I'm not worried about it. We know that Tomlin's going to start Fields. I feel like that guy, he out of anyone has the pulse of his football team.
I love Mike Tomlin.
Everyone loves Mike Tomlin.
He's awesome.
And you can't start 3-0 and then make a quarterback change, especially when the quarterback that's led you to 3 wins he hasn't been great. I'm not trying to make it sound like he's been just some huge playmaker, but he's been solid. He's managed the game.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. It's fun to watch.
They've got Indy this weekend on the road. They're favored on the road. Probably going to go beat the Colts. Colts are not a particularly great football team.
They've got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at quarterback there at Indy, so you never know what you're going to get on a given day or given drive, I guess. But yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm glad to see Fields kind of have a little resurgence here see where he goes with it.
I may like the Colts to win that game. Now, the NFL's weird, man. It's a that's why it's the best.
It'll be like a one. Going to be a one-score game in the fourth quarter as the clock is ticking down. With someone will have an opportunity to win it. That's almost how every game goes.
I think Richardson threw for like 160 with 2 interceptions against the Bears. It'll flip. He'll throw for like 300 and 2 touchdowns. That's
He
how he rolls
he will
against the
do
best defense in the league.
some of the worst things ever, and then he'll like throw an 85-yard bomb that travels 75 in the air as he's falling down with someone hanging on his jersey for a touch. It's crazy.
He's had 2 throws this year where I I made sure, like, I had to think, like, my initial reaction was, are those AI generated clips? Like, that's what my initial reaction was. The guy is just he's a specimen. All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
The University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Good football team, undefeated. A lot of people have them as a team that could make the playoff from the group of five, and their quarterbacks decided to bench himself for the season, red shirt, and he's done. The NIL agreement has not been honored, Gabe.
There is so much to unpack here. For those of you that haven't heard, the Matthew Sluka is his name. Their starting quarterback, he just announced on social media out of nowhere last night that he is not playing this weekend against Fresno State as UNLV starts conference play. There's so much. Where do we even start? Who does this, man? You're 3-0. You're the starting quarterback. Who does this, man? What's wrong with you, Sluka?
Yeah.
But how much money has someone else offered you? I need that information before I make my final judgment.
Well, hang on.
I don't believe that they're. Yeah, maybe they didn't fulfill everything they promised. Okay, whatever. But we all know the most likely thing is that someone else contacted him or his representation and said, hey, save one more year. We want you as our quarterback next season, and we're going to pay you X amount of money.
I don't know.
I think that's the most likely thing.
But he hasn't been great.
No, which is why I think that's the most likely thing, and it doesn't make sense to me because their running game is the strength of their football team. He's not.
Don't you have to honor, though, what, at least for now, what he said is that we had an agreement and they're not honoring their part of the agreement?
Do I believe a college kid that left his do I believe a college kid that left his football team high and dry in the middle of the night? I'm supposed to side with that guy?
Well, okay, but hang on. And I'm operating, I don't know any information. We've turned college football into professional football, have we not?
No doubt. No doubt.
Would you expect a quarterback in the NFL to continue playing if the team is not paying him?
No, this is where I'm at. And remember, this guy came from Holy Cross. He was an FCS guy. How much money did UNLV guarantee to a guy coming from FCS Holy Cross? It can't be that much money, bro.
I know.
So that's why it just smells funny to me. This is the facts will come out hopefully, and then we'll be able to make our final judgments. But this feels like a situation.
If he's trying to squeeze them for more money,
that's what I think's happening.
Then it's absolute BS on his part. If UNLV is not paying him what they agreed to, it's absolute BS on their part.
The way I see it,
and I wouldn't do what he's doing either way, but I can at least understand, since we've been brought into professional football at the college level, I can at least understand someone having to say, well, I've got to draw a line somewhere. If you're not going to pay me what you said you did, like, what do you want me to do? I mean, I can at least understand that to a point.
I want to know the facts. That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
It and here's a key part. Was this a verbal agreement or is the agreement in writing? Because if he didn't get it in writing, that's on him and whoever helped him negotiate this deal. People's words mean nothing. You have to get it in writing. So that's where I cannot wait to get all of the actual details of this story. Because you're already seeing people say, hey, the rumor is he walked into Odom's office and said, I want more money.
Right.
Are those rumors true? I don't know.
If that's what happened, you can't. If that's what happened, you can't be held hostage by that if you're Odom and UNLV.
Gundy talked about it earlier this year.
Yeah.
Hey, we're playing football. We'll renegotiate deals after the season. I ain't talking about it.
Because
that's that's the only way you can do it if you're a coach.
Yeah. And they don't I don't know UNLV's situation, but they don't have an endless supply of money like an NFL team does whenever CeeDee Lamb holds out for a new contract, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, well, we'll just play around with this a while before we give you the millions. Some teams don't have access to it. And whenever they say, we can't get you anymore, they're probably stretched as thin as they possibly could be to begin with. And there's also the fact of there's people that make promises to NIL on the backing side that may pull out of their what we're going to give
but
you
it's
guys
hard.
$1 million, and then that $1 million never comes to the NIL.
Yeah, but they started 3-0.
Well, I know. Yeah.
So it beat Kansas. That was a massive win for them. Like things are going really well. And that's why, like, what was promised to him, because, and I've talked about this before, but these guys have their base pay, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you can't go out and get more endorsement deals.
Yeah.
But I feel like this could have been worked out. Like they could have gone and found him a couple of endorsement deals, and it shouldn't have come to this point in my mind. But I can't wait till we get all the facts. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know either way, but we knew that this was going to happen, right? I mean, we knew that this was going to happen. It's a matter of time. There's been a lot of rumors of it happening in other places already, unofficially. Guys that randomly show up and are not playing in games, and because they've had some type of injury or something, like there's already been rumors of that stuff happening. So it was a matter of time before we got here. And I don't know. I hate it all the way around for everyone. If you're telling people that you're going to give them something, whether it's in writing or if it's verbally, in my opinion, you honor that.
No doubt.
Unless you're a scumbag. Or if you have the means to be able to do it, you shouldn't promise something that you can't deliver on, number one. And on the flip side of it, I think you're a scumbag if your team's having success and you use that as an opportunity to go try and get more money for yourself and leverage it with saying, hey, I'm not going to play if you don't give me more money. I think that's a scumbag thing to do on the flip side. I don't know which it is. And we may never know exactly like who's to blame here. It's just a bad situation that unfortunately, because of the Wild West and how things operate now with no guardrails, was inevitable.
I'm not sure where the scumbaggery is taking place, but there's scumbaggery
somewhere.
All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first.
We are brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. We all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but don't always have time to pull it off. With HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. My wife and I, we made the HelloFresh crispy kicking cayenne chicken cutlets with mashed potatoes, carrots, and a honey drizzle the other night. It was awesome, easy to follow instructions. Only took about 30 minutes or so, and it was delicious. HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week, tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date, or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. For free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown. One free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
My winner of the week, Jayden Daniels, quarterback, Washington Commanders. That dude put on a show on Monday Night Football.
Some of those throws were incredible.
By the way, I just need one Monday Night Football game. I don't need two of them. I just want one.
Yeah.
I just want one.
Much.
Don't need two. But Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati offense were fantastic. Jamar Chase was balling.
He was.
Burrow looked healthy. They were scoring points. And Jayden Daniels in that Commanders offense, it felt like they answered every time they had to. 21 to 23 for 254, 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, including a passing touchdown to an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Q-Dog. Aikman didn't know, but I know. And the second touchdown was one of the best throws we've seen all season long. You consider situation in the game, Monday Night Football, that was an absolute dime.
And the coverage was perfect.
Yeah.
He basically had to catch the ball and the corner's hand in order to score a touchdown. That was awesome.
Yeah. Heck of a play, heck of a throw, and a nice play by Terry McLaurin. But this guy is so much fun to watch. He also doesn't look as small on the field as I thought he was going to look. I thought he was going to look real, real thin. He looks fine.
Yeah.
But you got Dan Quinn rocking the backwards hat as the head coach. You've got Cliff Kingsbury dialing it up offensively. I mean, the Washington Commanders are fun. I want to watch them. I want to continue to watch them. I have never felt this way about this football team, I don't think. It's a weird feeling.
I have felt this way about them before, but it's been a while. And
RG3, young RG3 before all the injuries.
Yeah, that was a fun year. His rookie year. I've always loved their look. I love their uniforms. It's good to see him doing good.
Yeah. All I know is Jayden Daniels looks fantastic, and as long as he stays healthy, he is, I mean, he's like must-see TV. He is wildly entertaining to watch. Mm-hmm. So I'm pumped. In 0-3 for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow.
Their defense has fallen off a cliff, man. And they're banged up. I get that. But 0-3.
Man, it's so funny how the NFL works. When you win, man, everyone just pours the accolades on. And when you lose, it doesn't matter who you are. Like Burrow and Cincinnati were like the toast of the town over the last couple of years. And then now I saw like a meme, and it was him walking off the field, and it said Ellen DeGeneres and the Bengals are 0-3.
He has gotten pretty he's expanded his fashion horizons for sure.
Oh man, it was fun.
And it's cool when you're balling and you're winning. And
that's right.
It's just how it goes. If you're losing, people are Yeah, people are going to point that stuff out. But yeah, 0-3 for Cincinnati. That's a hole that it's just difficult to dig out of, but we'll see.
Plenty of time.
Commanders are fun. Commanders are fun. Really
Yep.
enjoying watching them. My loser of the week, former teammate of mine. We were weightlifting buddies in Buffalo, Reggie Bush. Strong, by the way, very strong.
That's not a shock.
He is suing the Pac-12, the NCAA, and USC. And basically he wants NIL back pay. That's what he wants. He wants to be compensated for his time at USC. What's your reaction to this, Ted? As a guy that is an OU icon, like it, hate it. I feel like this is something you would absolutely hate.
I hate it. I think it's pathetic. Really. I think it's pathetic. It's a cash grab. He knew what system he was signing up to play in. Right? Was the system wrong? Like, was it I don't know, but you knew what you signed up to do. You would have done it anyways. You got so much out of it. It catapulted him to the NFL. He was incredibly famous before he ever even took a snap in the NFL. It was a springboard for him to be where he is now. The guy's made a ton of money. It is an absolutely pathetic cash grab. It is so stupid. And I don't know. Well, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if he's got a legitimate case or not. But if he wins, he basically drops a nuclear bomb on college football. I don't even know how anyone could ever survive having to pay everyone that's ever played college football back pay NIL. I think it makes him look like a total douchebag and a cash grab, and it has a chance to ruin a sport that everyone loves, and it sets a horrible precedent. Because now I'm sure that every single school across the country is going to be sued by a group of former players that feel like they're owed something from when they played there. Even though there was no court cases or anything that had been won at the time, it's just, I think it's stupid. It's sad, honestly.
There's no doubt Reggie Bush would have crushed in the current system, right? Dude would have had a lot of NIL deals, but I'm curious as to what he thinks he's owed. What does he think is fair compensation for his 3 seasons at USC? Because you can say, oh, well, the Pac-12 got this massive TV deal because we were rolling. Well, you had a lot of other guys on your team. Like, what is Matt Leinart owed? What about the starting offensive line that was blocking for you? Like, I get he was a star player, but I just like, does he think he's owed $1 million for each season? 2 million. Like, what if he ends up winning and gets $5 million? Is it worth? And this is really the thing for me. Like, is it worth not having a place to call home? It really bummed me out to see this, because USC and him had smoothed things over. He got his Heisman back. It seemed like they had figured some things out. They got him back on campus. You know, they redisplayed his retired number starting with the opener this year. ESPN, there were rumors, according to ESPN, that he was going to run them out onto the field later this season for a game, and now he sues him. Is it worth it? That's my thing. Like, and I I feel like I know how you feel about OU and how I feel about OU, Ted. And I don't think there's an amount of money that you could give me where I would be willing to give up the feeling of going back to Norman and feeling welcome. And having my family, like my kids, that's the new, like watching my kids be able to go down on the field and run around or be at the games and watching the game. Like I cannot explain how much joy that brings me. And Reggie Bush just, I guess, doesn't care about that, or thinks maybe, hey, I can sue them and still be welcomed back. Like I just, you throw that all away for a couple $1,000,000. Is that like, is it worth it? I mean, this is a guy that made over $60 million playing in the NFL. He shouldn't be hurting for money.
Even if he is, I even if he is, I cannot stress how bad this is, and like how bad our society has become, like our court system. Some attorney, I'm sure, is pumping him up on how much
Oh,
he's owed.
the attorney statements, they said, oh, I actually wrote it down. This case is not just about seeking justice for Reggie Bush. It's about setting a precedent for the fair treatment of all college athletes. Our goal is to rectify this injustice and pave the way for a system where athletes are rightfully recognized, compensated, and treated fairly for their contributions. It's bullshit, man.
The attorney is a piece of trash. And frankly, Reggie Bush, yes, Reggie Bush is a piece of trash. Uh, this case is not just about seeking justice. I'm sure Reggie Bush was just like me, was just like you. The only thing he wanted to do as a kid growing up is to play college football. Like, that's it. It's the greatest thing ever to be able to play college football and to get a scholarship. And for him, USC maybe was the goal his entire life. I want to go play at USC for the Trojans. And you get the opportunity and you play great and you win a Heisman and you go to the NFL. Like, it all happened how you wanted it to happen. Don't give some bullshit line about you're seeking justice. You would have done anything for the opportunity that you got. And now, after all this time, you're seeking justice. Piece of shit in my book. I'm sorry. I mean, it ain't seeking justice. It's seeking money. And that attorney's a piece of shit for saying it. And our court system is a piece of shit for allowing it. It's all a scam. Stupid.
I hope he loses. And I'd want to make myself I think I speak for the both of us. Because this is something I think there's a group of Michigan guys that are trying to do something like this. I think I speak for the both of us. I hope no OU guys try to do this. I hope none of the guys that you played with or I played with, I hope no one tries to do this to the University of Oklahoma. I'm sure someone will. Right? I'm sure it's going to happen everywhere. It will happen everywhere if Reggie Bush wins. There's no doubt about that. But don't call me. I want nothing to do with it. The University of Oklahoma has given me everything I could have ever dreamed of. It was my dream as a little kid to play football there. so you can take your lawsuit and you can shove it up your ass. Don't call me.
Yep.
Don't even think about calling me because I'm not doing it. Place means too much to me. Feeling welcome back there, it brings so much fulfillment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no dollar amount that can make me just throw that away. That's just how I feel about it. Like dude, I cannot explain how much it bummed me out to read about this story.
Yep.
It's like, do people not care? You combine that with the UNLV thing, and I guess he's a 1-year rental, but it's like, do people not care about like legacy and all the relationships, like, and all the, I don't know, man. It just bothers me.
I operate on what is right and what is wrong. Okay. And I really don't give a shit about the law of the land. I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And to try and cash grab years later on something that you would have died for to do for free at the time is wrong. It's just wrong. It's a cash grab is all it is. It's a lie. You're lying by saying that it was an injustice. You would have done it for free. You did do it for free. And it was your whole dream as a child to go do it. I mean, so it's a lie is what it is.
It was 20 years ago too.
20 years ago, yeah.
I'm over here catching heat for saying I wouldn't wear another team's gear on the field. Like nothing would get me to do it.
Right.
I love you, Chris Hammonds. We're boys. I'm not worried about it. As long as me and Chris are good. Tennessee fans are being very mean to me. But there's nothing that would like OU means so much to me. That's kind of the bottom line. Like I could never do what Reggie Bush just did. I couldn't, but everyone's going to be paying attention to what happens. We'll see. Birthday shout outs. Happy first birthday to Jack Hood.
Happy 6th birthday to Lily Jane Lemons.
Happy 10th birthday to Eli and Hunter Ferguson.
Happy 16th birthday to Bo Williams.
Happy 24th birthday to Jackson Bald Shadle.
Yeah.
Shadle. Only one D, Shadle.
Shadle. Yeah. Jackson Bald Shadle. Happy
Love that.
40th birthday to LP Panel.
Happy birthday
Pannell?
to LPPANNELL. Panel, I think you nailed it.
Panel? Okay.
Because Pannell would be one N, right?
I don't know.
Panel
Panel is spelled
Panel.
with one.
Damn it, you're right. Happy birthday to Brooke Lacey.
Happy birthday to the voice of the Sooners, the best play-by-play voice in all of college football, maybe of all of sports. T-Row, Toby Rowland.
We love you, Tobe. You're the man. On that note, episode 460 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the game if you're going. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.